What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Kaspa today, KASUSD, going over the overall history that we have for this thing, at least on TradingView, what's available to us through the data. My last video for CAS hurt some people's feelings. I could tell there are a lot of you that, as it is anytime that I talk about the price action going down or not going as high as some people would expect it to be, it tends to hurt people's feelings. And I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings, man. I'm not here to do that. I'm just here to literally offer my opinion based on the 7 years of experience that I have doing technical analysis and trading. I do a little bit less trading these days, but I do a lot more technical analysis, that's for sure. What that has to offer as far as where I believe the price is going to go. If we take this first low here to this high here, you can see that we pulled back. I'm not going to count the scam wick, but we pulled back to about the 382. Okay, 382, solid. On a strong move up, finding support at the 382, it makes sense. That's something that's pretty common. Low there to high, look at that. The 382, that yellow line. Yet again, that's where you found your low. From the relative low to the relative high, that's where you found it. All right. This one I think is a little deeper. Looks like it, yeah. 0.5, 0.5 to 618, that area, but 0.5, nice. A little bit of a deeper retracement, and that makes sense. You got the deeper pullback only to have a gigantic kind of uptick there, upswing, whatever you want to call it. Now we take, what is it? Is it this low? I would suppose this low to this high. Didn't even hit your 382. So then, take it to this high. You still haven't hit your 382. Your 382, by the way, at a minimum, which is what you've seen being hit, other than this right here, but I wouldn't count this as a top. I feel like this was like just a pit stop before your actual top, right? It's like the same area, but that's your actual top. That's where I would feel comfortable drawing this from this move here. That's the end of this move up. In my opinion, that's how it would be. So if it were down here, then the 382 is just lower, but I think this makes sense. This is for a more conservative drop, I suppose. But 6.6 cents is the minimum target. You've also hit your 0.5 before and even gone a little bit through it. But let's just say 0.5 to your 382, somewhere around there. That'd be about 4.76 cents technically on there to 6.6 cents as your range, okay? And that makes sense for more than just the fibs itself, right? That range right there. I'm going to delete this so we can kind of see a little bit cleaner. If we take this fib here from a low to high, 1272, 1414 line up very well with this area. They line up very well with this area. If we take away the fibs entirely and we look at the previous price action itself at a weekly high closing area, that's right at the bottom of this range, but still in it nonetheless. If we were to draw from a high point to a low point, where this could take us, that'd be a 65% drop, potentially to a 72% drop, potentially to a 74% drop. And those last two numbers should sound familiar because the very first dump Kaspa ever had from high to low was 73.9%, 74% drop. From this high to the low, not including the scam wick, 74.4%. That should sound familiar, right? Here, the smallest pullback that we've ever seen, 57% right there, and we'll go over that possibility as well. But then 72% here. Most of these drops out of the four have been 72 to 57%. This one here was 52%, yes, 51%. But I don't feel comfortable including it in the data, and that's not to cherry pick. That's because to me, this just is not the same as any of these. Percentage-wise, it is very similar to this here, but you can see, I feel like you can see with your eyes that this move is completely different than this move, right? It's still corrections, but it's just not the same, in my opinion. And they did not promote the same growth afterwards either, so to further validate the idea that that might not be included. But I don't know, maybe let's include it. Let's include it in the data. We can include it and say that, the time that we had 57% drop, the next time we saw a 72% drop, and hey, that would put us right here, right? I don't know, I'm just saying. If we look at the weekly RSI, Kaspa has never shown this weak of a reading on the RSI. And that might sound good, right? You've never seen strength like this before. Okay, it's probably a good time to sell, right? It's probably a good time to sell. Probably would have worked out for you well. Not over time, but it would have worked out for you well. But you were in the oversold zone. Strongest readings, yes, but oversold zone. While this is the weakest reading, you're not in the overbought zone, not oversold, I'm sorry, overbought zone. You're not in the oversold zone. Overbought up here, oversold down here. And generally speaking, whenever you see bearish divergence, whenever you see extended time in the overbought zone, and then you cross below the 50, generally speaking, not always, you got two instances where this isn't true, but generally speaking, you would go down to your oversold zone, either in it or at least a tip off of it before resuming the overbought zone area for price to grow. So with all that being said, I do think you've got lower to go. I do think that this is the closest, let me see, I wonder, actually. I was about to say the closest high, but that, to be fair, that's a high there, right? Okay, it's pretty damn comparable to that one there. But the price action afterwards is not the same. It's pulling back more. This to me, it just looks more like a double top, more so than anything else that we've had. For a time, this did look like a double top. But you see how it's different, right? Slowly working your way down, where here you were consolidating and slowly working your way up. Right here, you're only hugging the bottom. Here you were hugging the top. It's different. Here you had stronger readings. Here you've got the weakest readings you've seen. It's different. On a daily note, daily RSI, you're also maintaining readings below the 50. That's not a good look. Rejecting the 50. Getting oversold a little bit, but still reluctant in doing so. I think the real tear to the downside is just yet to start. You are probably coming to that soon. I do want to look at the KuCoin chart real quick. You can see volume has died off. Generally speaking, when you consolidate, when you're in a phase of consolidation, when volume dies off, that normally means you're at the end of it. And when you get that breakout move, whether it's to the downside or the upside, you'll get that volume to come back in. So just be aware of that. We probably are near the end of this consolidation phase. It could be any day now, any week now that we see this thing break out. And I would expect to the downside is where we're going to go. Being at 10.79 cents right now, the minimum target that I would expect for this thing to hit, just based off these fibs, would be 9.1 cents to 8.3 cents. But based off the extensions, 5.8 cents, 5.1 cents, even 4.24 cents. And based off of what I was saying earlier, I think it was like 4.7 to 5.9 or 6 point something cents, something like that. At any rate, lower than this low is what I'm expecting. And I really do think that this area here at 5.1, 5.2 cents makes sense to pull back to. I really do think that makes sense for a few reasons. Right? Go back. Let's see. Maybe not there. I don't know. It's like here, you draw a line. You found support right off of this weekly right here. Technically off of this high, your scam wick went right down there, but I don't know if I would count that as a as price action. I haven't counted it through this whole video, but it does technically go right down there. This low was dramatically higher than this high. However, if we take this high into consideration, this low didn't quite reach it, but it got pretty damn close. It definitely did get close. And then here we go to this high over here. Assuming that you come back to touch this. And the reason why I'm drawing it there and not here is because out of this whole area, this is the high. This is kind of your shelf. While this is a significant discernible high, I feel like coming down for support, potentially you find support on it, but more likely you'd find support on this is what I would think. But going off of its history, you've only really come back and tested a previous high for support once, arguably twice, but really once. I haven't counted this throughout the whole video, so I'm not going to just start counting it now for argument's sake. But you've bottomed above this line, bottomed above this line, bottomed above this line, bottomed right at it. So the odds of you bottoming at the line are lesser than bottoming above it. So you really could find support somewhere up above here, but that still doesn't change the fact that if you break this low, if you break that low there, you likely would see at least a 5 at a minimum, a 5.8 cent price. And that's only if you break the low there at 7.5 cents. So as of right now, the minimum expectation, or I guess the the highest price that I would expect you to go to would be 9.2 to 8.3 cents, somewhere in that range. That's your best case scenario. But if and when this low breaks, your best case scenario is this line here, is that line. Potential, strong potential for this line here. You can't even see it, but that's the 1414 line. It's literally overlapping that weekly closing high. And then also a decent potential to go down here or even lower. So prices below 4 cents are on the table, but I just, mainly wanted to say for anybody out there, before I just keep repeating the same stuff over and over again, you are seeing the weakest readings you've ever seen on a weekly perspective. Your daily RSI looks terrible. Might actually be the worst that it's ever looked as well. Let's see. Yeah, it is. You've had moments where you've been below the 50 here, but you were above the 123 moving average, right? A little bit below it, but you were above it for most of the time. Same thing here, a little bit below it, but above it pretty quickly, right? Little bouts here. Look at how much longer you've been below the 50 here. You can't deny that this is different. This is completely different. This is the longest, I think, amount of time you've gone without being in the overbought zone. Like since your last time that you were in the overbought zone until now, I think this is the longest period of a gap that you've seen. Let's see. Before I just start saying that, let's see. It would have been here to here. 51 days, roughly, right? Probably there. You did technically get in it there, so that right there is 48 days. And then from here, right there. Oh yeah, yeah, man. Yeah, the longest bit that you've seen without seeing the overboughts. And you guys, things are different. Things are different. Look at how you're interacting with the green line here, right? The green line for its first time ever actually looks like is it sloping down? Dude, do you have a negative slope? You've never seen a negative slope on this green line, and you have it now. You've got it now. And as the price progresses further, the longer that it stays down here, the more that it will. You've seen it go less intense to the upside. It's curved down a little bit, but didn't technically actually curve down, right? Like here it's curved up, here it's still curved up, just less so. The slope is still positive, but right now you actually have a negative slope. Pair that with everything else that's going on. I can't help but feel, you guys, that not only are you overdue, not only is Kaspa overdue for a drop that is 70% or larger from the all-time high, but you're probably going to be in a long phase of consolidation. Kaspa, and I'm making a bold call here. Let's just do this real quick before I do this. Hold on. Let's say, before you broke your high, it was 8 weeks. So from high to when you broke your high, 8 weeks. Found your high here. When you broke your high, it's technically 9 weeks. Okay, pretty close. I like to see that. High here when you broke your high, 14 weeks. High here when you broke your high, 18 weeks. So it's gotten longer each time. High here, you broke your high, 14 weeks. Okay, that's the one time it got closer. So anywhere from 18 weeks to 8 weeks. If we took that average, what would that actually be? 8, 9, 18, 14. 12.25 weeks. I don't think that's going to happen, man. Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. You might actually go, and this remains to be seen, right? But if you hit 18 weeks, if by June you're not above this high, this will just further illustrate what I've been saying, which is that this time this pullback is different. It might not be different in overall percentages. It might be larger, it might be lesser, who knows? But I do think that regardless of how low you go, the amount of time that it's going to take, you're probably going to consolidate up in this area for months, you guys, for months, right? 18 weeks was the longest that you saw, and that put you out in June. I genuinely think Kaspa might not break that all-time high until Q4 or late Q3 of this year, which is good and bad, right? It's bad for the people that bought up here. It's bad for the people that bought down here hoping it would go up. But it is good for the people who are waiting to buy, who want to add to their stack, who maybe you didn't sell up here, your plan is to sell up here or higher, and it probably does go higher than that even. I do think Kaspa will break $1 by the end of this cycle. I just think for the majority of this year, essentially, you're going to be moving sideways and being boring. And I think it's all in the charts, man. Weaker readings that you've seen, weakest readings that you've seen maintained. First time the long-term moving average is sloping down. Price action is looking different than it ever has. You've gone the most up without a normal retracement that you've seen, a normal consolidation phase that you've seen this whole time. And then the chart itself just looks like it wants to slope down, man. It looks like it's curving. That's not a friendly look. That's really not a friendly look. If anybody's saying that I'm cherry picking this right now in the way that I'm drawing it, I mean, I just don't know how. I'm literally trying to not cherry pick it. It looks like it's curving down. You can see it with your eye. I don't know, man. I guess I'm gonna stop the video there. I've got nothing else that I want to say. If you guys like the video, hit that like button. If you don't like the video, well, let me know in the comments. I think Kaspa is moving down to about probably 5.2 cents, 5.1 to 5.2 cents. That's my genuine opinion for Kaspa. I think it's going to. And then once it's found its low, it doesn't mean that it's go time yet, right? Here, you found your low. You had 1, 2. On your third week, you moved up. Really, though, it wasn't until like months later that you even saw new highs. Here, you found your low, but it was 1 week, 2 weeks you moved up, but really 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 7 weeks you're moving sideways, and then you started kicking up again, right? Here, you found your low 1 week, 2 weeks. I'm thinking that when you find your low, it'll probably be 1 month or 2 months after that you really start to get exciting again. And you probably find your low either this month or sometime in June, but I would think sometime this month in May. But I could be wrong on that, And where that low is coming in, again, the area of focus for me is right about here. And I do accept that you could find a low higher. You could even find it higher than this low. But if you take that low out, man, the minimum is 5.8. The minimum would be there. So there's a bunch of areas that it would make sense for you to bottom out at, but all of those areas are lower than the current price. Again, the best case I think is 9.2. Isn't that what it is? 9.2, yeah. You're at 10.8 now. So anyways, that's it, guys. Hit that like button, subscribe. I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.